This Read 180 topic is made possible by a grant from
Kellogg's Rice Krispies, who reminds you, books are totally overflowing with cool stuff. Get in on it. Wake up to the amazing world of reading.
And by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the annual financial support of viewers like you.
I can think of hundreds of things America has given the world. Big cars, blue jeans, rock and roll. And who else could come up with stuffed crust pizza? The point is, some parts of American culture are familiar around the world, and your VJ Nathan is here to tell you how and why it happened. Here's a sneak preview. You'll be surfing through 4 videos that'll take you from Harlem to Hollywood, and we'll throw in a road trip on the side.
Hi, I'm Nathan, and I'm here to take you to Harlem. Everyone's heard of it, but not everyone knows how this famous neighborhood became the heart of African American culture. Now, let's go back about 80 years and see how it all began.
Heart of Harlem.
In the 1920s, black artists made Harlem the capital of cool. This New York City community produced an amazing decade of music, literature, and art, a period called the Harlem Renaissance. It began with the writer and scholar W.E.B. Du Bois, who founded The Crisis, a magazine devoted to black issues. Du Bois wanted talented African-American artists to show the world what they could do. He inspired great writers like Zora Neale Hurston and Langston Hughes, who led an explosion of black literature. Soon, Harlem's library and the YMCA a few doors down were regular meeting places for the new literary stars, attracting writers from all over the country. Black painters and sculptors created a sensation too. Aaron Douglas painted the giant murals inside the Harlem Library. Richmond Barthé sculpted black faces and bodies. Most Americans had never seen artwork by African Americans. Now it was all the rage. The Harlem Renaissance was also about music and clubs and dancing. Duke Ellington played jazz, Bessie Smith sang the blues, and everyone who wanted to swing took the express train to 125th Street in Harlem. The Harlem Renaissance made black culture a part of American culture, and it turned Harlem into a place African Americans could call home. Langston Hughes wrote about it in his poem, Heart of Harlem.
The buildings in Harlem are brick and stone, and the streets are long and wide. But Harlem's much more than these alone. Harlem is what's inside.
This is really such a surprise. I didn't even prepare a speech. I'm just so incredibly humbled that you recognize my incredible talent. What? You never had that fantasy? Let's face it, people are crazy about films, and we have Hollywood to thank for it. Very few things have influenced the world more than movies, and I'm going to show you the place where it all started.
Going Hollywood.
Hollywood, California. Recognized around the world for its famous places and famous faces. The movies made Hollywood the home of glitz and glamour, but it wasn't always like this. Here's how Hollywood became the movie capital of the world. 100 years ago, it was just a sleepy little town next to big-time Los Angeles. But a few of the first directors discovered that Southern California's good weather made it an ideal place to shoot movies. These early directors made only short films. It wasn't until 1913 that a director named Cecil B. DeMille rented a barn in Hollywood, turned it into a movie studio, and produced the first full-length motion picture here. Other Hollywood studios followed, and the movies got bigger and better. In the year-round Hollywood sunshine, movie makers could build gigantic outdoor sets with authentic buildings, elaborate costumes, and hundreds of actors called extras. The early movies had no sound or color, and their special effects were not exactly the kind we're used to today. But they took the world by storm. By the 1920s, the farm town of Hollywood was more like a factory town. 5 major studios cranked out hundreds of movies a year, using an army of makeup artists, costume designers, cameramen, film editors, and of course, movie stars. Today, movies are a multi-billion-dollar industry. All over the world, audiences line up to watch movies on the big screen. But it all started in a sunny place called Hollywood.
Get your kicks on Route 66. Well, when was the last time you heard a song about a highway? That tells you a little something about how famous Route 66 was. To some people, it was more than just a road. It was a symbol of a really cool time in America before they supersized the highways. Were those really the good old days? Let's take a road trip and see.
Road trip.
In the 1920s, small-town America was still a place of dirt roads that led pretty much nowhere. But something big happened in 1926, the building of Route 66, one of the first major highways in America. It stretched about 2,400 miles from Chicago to Los Angeles, passing through 8 states and 3 time zones. It wasn't fully paved for another 12 years, but that didn't stop anyone. America was mass-producing cars, and a nation in love with driving took to the highway. Soon, Route 66 was called the Main Street of America. The 1930s brought economic depression and a severe drought. Thousands of people headed west on Route 66, leaving their ruined farms in the Midwest to start new lives in California. Now the highway had a new nickname, the Mother Road. By the mid-1940s, America was back on its feet. People had new jobs, big cars, and time to take off and hit the road. Businesses sprung up all along Route 66. Gas stations, homey diners, neon-lit motels, and hundreds of wacky roadside attractions. You could sleep in a concrete wigwam in Arizona, see the Round Barn in Oklahoma, or visit the Cadillac Ranch in Texas. It was the heyday of the highway. But everything started to change in the 1950s. Little by little, 5 new interstate highways replaced Route 66, eventually bypassing the small towns and friendly faces that made getting there the best part of the trip. For many people, the legend of the old highway never died. About 80% of Route 66 is still there. If you travel it with a map and a guidebook, you might just get a glimpse of America the way it used to be.
This next video is filled with gnarly waves, totally sick gashes, and grommets dogging in the pit. Don't get it? Don't worry. It's all good. It's about the surfing scene and the lifestyle that became popular all across the country in the 1960s. So let's get amped and watch.
Surfin' USA.
If you're ripping inside the barrel and you don't get pitched, you're probably pretty stoked. In other words, you're happy because you rode a big wave and you managed to stay on your surfboard. Surfer lingo may not sound like English, but it sure is American. So how did the surfing scene become part of American culture? Duke Kahanamoku, a Hawaiian athlete, is the father of modern surfing. He used his fame as an Olympic swimmer to popularize the sport. It caught on in lots of places, but in the 1950s and 60s, the kids of Southern California turned it into a way of life. California surfers had their own way of talking, their own way of dressing, and a new kind of music to go with it. A guitarist named Dick Dale invented the rippling sound of the surf guitar, while bands like the Beach Boys and Jan and Dean made beach music popular across the nation. Even Americans who didn't live on the coast were digging the surfing scene through the movies. The California beach was the setting for dozens of films in the 1960s. The movies made it look like one big party, but surfing was becoming a serious sport. Today, there are professional competitions around the world. The craze that started in California is just as popular as ever. Sound like a good gig? Then take your stick, head for the tube, and make a wave.
You rode the wave until the end. You're done with this one, so it's time to topic surf.